the quick changing road conditions as this line moves through. But notice back to the west in areas like Waverly, Clarksville, Hopkinsville, and Paris, we had those storms earlier this morning. Now they're completely out. Cumberland Plateau, Cookeville, Jamestown, Crossville, McMinnville, areas all east of I-65. The rain hasn't worked its way in just yet, but it will sometime between about the 8 and 9 o'clock hours. It should really settle in to areas out in East Middle Tennessee. Right now focused on downtown Nashville as the heart of this rain, the heart of this line of storms starts to work its way through. We haven't had too many problems on the road so far, but that is going to change for us. And like I had just mentioned, it does look like the National Weather Service is focused on this main line of storms that is just to the south, moving into downtown Nashville. Now, I know Alexandria's in here with me. Is Alexandria, do you have any traffic maps for me that we can take a look at or anything like that?
Yeah, we have got some cameras we can look at right now in first alert traffic. If we can get that pulled up, I can show you what the roads are looking like right now. If you're about to head out, the road condition map, you're noticing what Stefano's talking about with the wet conditions, that blue and that green indicating, yeah, we got rain, and it is impacting your morning commute. I-40 here at 46th Avenue coming in on the west side of town. Are you noticing the slick roadways there as the traffic flow is just slowly but surely trickling in? No crashes in that area to report as of yet. Hopefully it stays that way. It's the morning to remember to turn on your lights. If you are traveling in, you got to have those on in conditions just like this, and give yourself caution. You're even seeing some of the rain and water pick up on the roadways there. Keep in mind there's likely going to be ponding. There's still tons of potholes out there too, making it even more challenging to navigate through some of these conditions. I'll take you up here to the north side. This is where we're seeing quite the backup here at I-65 here at Trinity Lane. If you're trying to travel in right now from Sumner, Robertson County, even to our west coming in from Montgomery County at the I-65, I-65 and I-24 merge there, you are starting to see some heavier delays right now, and likely only to get worse as the morning goes on with these wet conditions. So please pack your patience on the roadways as you're trying to make your way in. If you're heading northbound, it didn't look so bad, but Franklin, you have a slower commute right now. Notice that 29 minutes for you using 65, Murfreesboro 59 minutes, Bellevue slowing down at 18, Gallatin 48 minutes in the red. This is what I'm talking about coming in from the north side and the southeast are seeing those heavy delays, and only going to grow in minutes with the wet conditions, Stephanie.
They certainly are, and as the heavier rainfall approaches downtown Nashville, remember, a lot of us are driving right into that if you're coming in from the east side of the city. One of the main things I would love you to focus on here is the rainfall rates that we're seeing back where the main line of thunderstorms is. Yes, the rain has started to work its way into Davidson County, downtown Nashville, but it's this part of the storm system that really is going to pack a punch. That's where the gusty winds are. The rainfall rate, I know it says 7-8 inches per hour. Obviously, these storms are moving, so you're not getting that. But what it is telling us is that that rain is not only heavy, but it's blinding rain in some cases. So as these storms work their way to the east, the conditions will quickly change on the roadways. If you're headed out the door just now or looking out your window, a lot of the rain is light. I think this is Dickerson Pike in Nashville. The sky getting a little bit darker, the rain starting to pick up, the roads are going to be wet. Kids are going to the bus stop this morning trying to get off the bus and get into school. The rain only intensifies. Could still very well be some small hail within some of this, but I think now the focus is more on the heavier rainfall and the wind that's gusting upwards and near 30 miles per hour. So what the deal is this morning and why we're still with you is simply because with our tower camera, you can see in the distance that line of storms is working its way closer and closer to downtown Nashville. So because of that and because of the proximity to the heart of the morning commute, we're staying here with you to keep you updated. The wind is still gusting even in the absence of some of these thunderstorms, near if not over 30 miles per hour. We're actually close to a 40-mile-per-hour wind gust back in Parsons. And look at the wind direction changing very quickly on us from west to east. Once this line goes through, the temperature is going to plummet. So another thing to focus on stepping out this morning, don't dress for the 60s and 70s because it's not going to stick around for very long. We've already dropped into the 40s across parts of northwest Middle Tennessee and southern Kentucky, and that colder air will continue to work its way into the rest of the mid-state as we head through the remainder of the morning. And as I had mentioned, the gusty wind behind all of that as well. Another check of First Alert Live radar. There's that line of storms from southern Kentucky, northeast Middle Tennessee. It's moving through the Nashville metro right now and down through parts of southwest Middle Tennessee. All of this will work its way to the east into parts of the plateau. As we approach the 8 and 9 o'clock hours, that heavier rainfall going to be the main concern. Haven't really had too many reports of any hail in areas like Davidson County, but what we certainly have seen are some heavier downpours and some wind gusts that could be upwards of 40 to 45 miles per hour. As I mentioned earlier, the National Weather Service is kind of eyeing up the area of Davidson County, not necessarily for a severe thunderstorm threat, but it's more for just this heavier rainfall and gusty winds. Hendersonville getting hit pretty hard right now. The same thing near Jordonia, Inglewood, downtown Nashville. If you normally travel in from, let's say, Brentwood or Antioch, Laverne, maybe even the Smyrna areas, a little farther east, Lebanon, Mount Juliet, the rain is about to pick up in intensity. So if you travel west on I-65 or onto 24, you try to get into Davidson County, the weather will change very quickly. The wind will pick up, the rain will come down. You'll see a really big drop in the visibility because of that rain, and farther to the north in Millersville, Gallatin, Cottontown, all the way up through Westmoreland, the rain coming down pretty heavy through Hunters Point, LaGuardo, Hartsville, Dixon Springs. There's Pleasant Shade, Bellwood, Carthage, Gordonsville. Eventually, all of this will work its way out into the Cumberland Plateau. This line of storms is moving at about 40 to 50 miles per hour. So let's go ahead and throw a track on exactly where this is and where it is headed to next as we get that track a little bit better here for you. Okay, so the time is 7:10. Father Ryan High School, it's on the doorstep right now. Hermitage Springs at about 7:12. Glencliff High School at 7:13. Clementsville the same time, Gum Springs at 7:14, and Radnor Lake at 7:15. If it was trash day for you today, keep in mind those trash cans are probably going to be tipped over, maybe even pushed into the neighbor's yard because of exactly how gusty this wind has been. Main storm threat going to be heavier rainfall, but the pink colors that you're seeing on this map as well does in fact indicate that there could very well be some small hail within some of this. Another reason you probably don't want the kids waiting around outside the bus stop this morning. Does look like that the National Weather Service is kind of keeping an eye on this line of storms that's a little farther to the south. Let me get you back to the reflectivity so we can look at this storm system. It kind of looks like the National Weather Service is looking down in this area right here, talking about a little broad rotation, but nothing too tight, so nothing that would spin up a tornado, but it is still something to pay close attention to. Looks like either way, there's going to be some heavier rainfall in this and potentially some gusty winds. Let's see if we can get a beat on what some of the wind gusts are actually looking like within some of this rain as we work our way through. Let me turn on our velocity and just see if we can find any strong wind gusts of 40 miles per hour or more. Okay, so this is actually indicating that we're seeing some wind gusts in these areas of 50 to 60 miles per hour. I will say that the radar can exaggerate this just a little bit, but I do think this is a good indication that this line of storms, as it's pushing through, more of a squall line, if you will, is the fancy term for it, is packing wind gusts that can cause problems for high-profile vehicles. You factor in wind and heavier rainfall, and you're really dealing with problems on the roadways this morning as you're trying to head out the door. So wind, heavier rainfall still going to be the main threats. That's the reason that we're still here with you, because we're so close to the morning commute. There is no severe thunderstorm. There is no tornado warning to talk about, but this is really going to impact your morning. As you're trying to get your act together, kids are going to the bus stop, there's going to be a lot of problems, especially if you're trying to get in and out of downtown Nashville. And Alexandria Adams is still here with me. She's been keeping an eye on the roadways, and certainly Alexandria will see some slow going here now, if not in the next couple of hours, as the rain continues to come down.
Certainly so in First Alert traffic. We've been seeing, really, once it hit about 6:30, those impacts. You're seeing some of those impacts right now on the road condition map. Follow along here with me. We do have a couple of crashes to tell you about. I think we're going to pick up more throughout the morning because of the wet conditions that Stefano's been tracking tracking all morning long. And again, if you drive something like an SUV, you're likely going to feel that wind gust even more this morning. So 24 traveling in from Montgomery County, you're going to move slower right now because of those wet conditions coming in. Really anywhere north side, northwest, really feeling those impacts. West also coming in from Dixon onto 40. I'll take you up here to Peters Mill Road, I believe, here in Clarksville. Wet conditions there. It doesn't look like the rain is falling down anymore, but you're seeing those slick roadways out there. Over here on the east side at I-24 and Ellington Parkway, rain falling, not super heavy on that side of town, but again, wet conditions there. You're seeing some of the blowback from that rain as those vehicles are traveling in on those roadways and lanes this morning. Remember to keep your lights on as you are traveling in this morning. Talk about this vehicle breakdown to our north. This is along Anderson Lane here at Nick's Drive. Shouldn't have a massive impact, but again, if you see any sort of emergency crews or someone having issues with their vehicle, especially when it's in these rainy conditions like this, please give them some room and move over. It is the law after all. Notice there at I-65 and the I-24 merge, red. Now, we typically see this, but of course, when we add in sort of a weather condition, it's going to be red even longer. This is what I'm talking about. If you live in Sumner County this morning, Robertson County, and you're trying to make your way to Nashville for work, please leave earlier. This is what we're seeing in the red right now, 39 minutes. Lebanon moving in slower also at 35. Dixon almost an hour using 40, 57 minutes. Clarksville almost an hour using 24. Now, Franklin, you're also moving slower too, 33 minutes. But everybody here below Franklin, look at you, Murfreesboro, an hour at 60 minutes using 24. Bellevue, 22. Gallatin, an hour. So it's looking like an hour almost across the board for most folks this morning, Stefano.
And that's why we're still here with you. This is exactly what we had mentioned here because of the heavier rainfall coming through. The timing being right around the morning commute, that is the big issue. And we also still have this wind advisory, by the way. So even in the absence of these thunderstorms, we've been watching the wind gust up to 40 miles per hour in some cases. So that continues until noon. The National Weather Service may expire that a little bit earlier. Right now, big focus is still, though, on this line of thunderstorms. That's a little bit weird looking right now on First Alert Live radar, so I'll switch the source for you. But that heavier rainfall is right on the doorstep in downtown Nashville. Even here at the WSMV4 studios, we should actually probably hear it on our roof here in just a couple of minutes, if not a couple of seconds here. Westmead, Forest Hills, Bellevue, the rain is actually pretty light right now, but if you're trying to get from Bellevue to downtown Nashville this morning, you're really going to be riding up Interstate 40, maybe even 440 right into the heaviest of that rainfall. And if you take Highway 70, maybe Harding Pike, that is also going to be an issue. At least, you know, we get some stoplights there, but there will be some problems on the roads. There's no major flooding threat because these storms are moving so quickly. That's some good news, but ponding could easily occur on roadways, maybe some poor drainage areas that have a tough time keeping up. Haven't really had any reports of any rotation for the most part, so I know we have that tornado watch in a couple of spots, but it hasn't been too much of a concern for us overall. Storm threats, mostly heavier rainfall. Pink color still indicating some hail, maybe around the Millersville, Hendersonville areas, LaGuardo, north of Jordonia. Maybe Madison, Inglewood, we get some small hail, pea-sized, if not nickel-sized, which we did have a little farther to our west, but that doesn't cause any big problems for us. Back to First Alert Live radar. This gives you a better view of where sort of the core of the heavier rainfall is. A little farther to the south, we look down to areas like Cool Springs, Grassland, Brentwood, Franklin. One of the things to remember here is that we're starting to get a few storms breaking off of the main line of heavier rainfall and thunderstorms. So in these areas like Cool Springs and Franklin, while the rain is going to start even near Leapers Fork, and there might be some heavier rain in there, we still have probably about 10 minutes behind when that round of rain starts before this heavier round of rain works its way through, and that's the main problem maker for us. That's where we could get the reduced visibility, the wind gusts near 40 miles per hour, maybe even some of that hail. But if you look farther back to the west, areas like Dixon, Kingston Springs, we are finally starting to dry out. We'll cool down from here on out. Bon Aqua, we're almost out of the picture around Highway 100, but still on the backside of that, expecting a gusty wind. Thompson Station near Arrington as well. All of those spots need to be on alert as these storms get ready to work their way through. We're really focused on Davidson County and downtown Nashville. Guys, I don't know if we have the tower camera queued up and ready to go, but if you go ahead and bring that up, it's the camera that we have here at the WSMV4 studios. This is on top of our radio antenna that we have here, and you can really see that heavier rainfall off in the distance, almost that that rain shaft, if you will, of those heavier downpours that's working its way into downtown Nashville. And here's that corresponding with First Alert Live radar. Very, very intense rainfall is about to work its way through Nashville. So I've been saying this for the last couple of minutes here. If you're coming in from the east side of the city, Mount Juliet, Nashboro Village, down through Antioch, maybe around Hermitage as well, Laverne, if you're coming up 24 west on I-40, you're going to impact this heavier rainfall. This is going to slow you down. Ponding on roadways, reduced visibility, the lightning starting to fall apart a little bit. At least that tells us that these storms are weakening, but still enough to cause some problems for the morning commute. If you're coming in from the Brentwood area, Grassland, maybe near Westmead, or here at the WSMV4 studios, you know, Charlotte Park, that whole area, the rain really going to start to come down at a very heavy pace starting now and then lasting probably for a good 20 minutes or so before this finally starts to move out. And on the back side of it, of course, talking about that big cool down. The wind has been gusty all day, so if you drive a high-profile vehicle, that's something to keep in mind, that even within these thunderstorms, the wind could gust near, if not over, 40 miles per hour. Looks like we have some kind of a crash or maybe a disabled vehicle. Guys, where is that exactly? I'm a little far away. It looks like, yeah, I-40. Charlotte Pike. Okay, so that's the west side of the city. And here's the point, Alexandria. That rain is really starting to come down heavily. You can see the traffic is slowed down. I'm sure soon enough you'll see people with their hazards on because of how heavy the rain is coming down.
Yeah, certainly. So, yeah, let's talk about it right now in First Alert Traffic. If you're heading out the door, talking about this crash that we are seeing out here on the roadways. If you're traveling in maybe from the Bellevue area, good morning to you. Just want to give you this big heads up. That's why we're staying on right now. You're not seeing your typical Today Show, but we got to let you know what's going on the roads, especially when we have conditions just like this. I-40 eastbound, so heading inbound from the west side. This is at Charlotte Pike. So we'll take you out there. Now, it doesn't look like it's blocking any lanes that you would typically travel through, but it is blocking that left shoulder there. Flashing lights, almost distorting our camera with the heavy rainfall that is dripping down on that lens right now. Road conditions, not great this morning. You gotta leave early. That is what we've been preaching all morning long, because we're really starting to see some more of these accidents start to create, especially when it comes to our interstates. I-40 westbound, this is near I-65 split and Demonbreun Street. I'll take you out to that one as well. Traffic moving slower in that area. I don't see any emergency crews. Hard to make out which car this vehicle is in this crash, but something to consider if you are traveling in that area this morning. Still following this vehicle breakdown here to our north side. This is Anderson Lane here at Nick's Drive, not causing a massive slowdown, but please keep this in mind if you're about to head out the door right now. Lots of slower traffic, and that's going to be kind of the name of the game, is to be moving slow, because everyone's in the red really across the board this morning. It's not looking so great, Franklin. 37 minutes getting on to the interstate, likely going to take you even longer with some of the jam ups that we're starting to see form because of the wet roads. Murfreesboro almost an hour, 59 minutes, just short of a minute there. Bellevue 28, Gallatin also short of 1 minute of an hour at I-65 if you're coming in there. I'll show you Hendersonville is well in the red, 43 minutes, 11 and 39. Dixon, 65 minutes for you. Clarksville, almost an hour at 56. Stefano, a reminder to people with those SUVs, that wind gust, you're going to feel it.
Those high-profile vehicles, I mean, those are going to be a big concern for us as this line of storms moves through. And listen, I know that we're kind of blowing out the Today Show here, but this is a pretty good line of storms coming through right at the morning commute. So this is impacting a lot of people as they're headed out the door this morning. Once this line clears Nashville and kind of gets out of Davidson County, heads out toward the Cumberland Plateau, we're going to head and toss things back to regular programming. But the heaviest of this rain is now just getting into downtown Nashville. Actually, the door on the other side of the studio got blown open by the wind, and we have the heavier rainfall right here over the WSMV4 studios. Jordonia, Madison, Nashboro Village, and Antioch. There's not a whole lot we need to talk about as far as heavy rainfall, at least for now, but that is going to change very quickly. This line of storms is also moving very quickly as well, so I'm not expecting this to stick around until 8 o'clock this morning in downtown Nashville. But with our tower camera right here at WSMV4, the visibility has been drastically reduced. Normally we can see the Nashville skyline. That is not the case, and the wind is still very gusty on top of all of that. I think that net 8, if we can ever switch that to net 8. That is our radar site camera. That's in Nolensville in Williamson County. There's not any rain coming through, but the wind is kind of picking up a little bit. You can see the trees and the camera starting to shake a little bit more. That's a sign that those storms are approaching, so we're watching those areas next. Get it out for a little bit of a bigger picture, and we'll throw things in motion. And it shows that line of storms starting in parts of West Middle Tennessee, but moving very quickly. It's been moving at about 50 miles per hour, so it doesn't stick around very long. It's just very rough timing for the morning commute. Kids that are headed to school this morning. Could still be some small hail in there. It doesn't seem like it's a major concern, but the big story is really just these heavier downpours. Tornado watch does still continue for far northeast Middle Tennessee and parts of southern Kentucky as well. I don't think the tornado threat is really at this point that much of a concern, but we still have this strong gusty wind of up to 30, 40 miles per hour, so the wind advisory will continue until noon today. Let's throw a track on all of this. Notice that the temperature is going to quickly drop behind all of this through the rest of today. If you're in East Middle Tennessee, if you're stepping out the door in the absence of this rainfall, it feels summer-like. We're in the 60s, but that temperature is going to rapidly drop through the remainder of the morning and into the afternoon, with temperatures that are sitting in the 40s to even dropping down into the 30s. That could very well change some of this over to a little bit of a sleet or snow, wet snowflake mix. Nothing that would accumulate, but just kind of shows how quickly that temperature is going to plummet as we go through the remainder of this morning. Heavy rain is really starting to come down here at the WSMV4 studios. It's actually coming in because I can't get back there to shut the door because the door got blown open by the wind. So I don't know if anybody can get back there and do that, but the rain is actually coming into the studio right now because the wind blew the door open. So that's kind of what you're hearing if you can hear it through my microphone. Again, none of these storms are severe, but it's bad timing. It's the morning commute. You're trying to get out the door. You're trying to get to work. The good news is, even though we're in the heart of this in downtown Nashville, the end is in sight. You look a little farther to the west, even back into West Davidson County through parts of Cheatham County, Cheap Hill, Ashland City. All of these areas are losing the heaviest of the rainfall, and now it's just moved through Davidson County. Looks like Bellevue and Westmead are getting hit the hardest right now with very heavy rain, extremely gusty winds, and also maybe that risk of small hail. It'll move to areas like Mount Juliet, Gladeville, Lebanon. We're not seeing a whole lot right now, but the heavier rainfall will work its way in the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. A little farther off to the north and east from Tompkinsville, Burkesville, Lafayette, also Gainsboro, Salina, Cookville. It's been pretty quiet right now. That is not going to be the case for very long as that rain starts to work its way to the east. It should easily hold the heavier downpours. Guys, if you can actually switch back to the tower camera, I know we have our live drive there, but I want to show you just how heavy the rain is coming down here at the WSMV4 studios. I mean, it doesn't even look like you can see much of anything, and you really can't because the rain is that much of a problem, and it's reducing visibility that poorly, Alexandria. It's why those drive times have increased to almost an hour or more across most of the area.
Yeah, this is the kind of weather that will put your windshield wipers to the test. You may be in your car or about to get in your car thinking, I wish I would have replaced them. Well, let's talk about what we're seeing when it comes to the morning drive. Let's show you what's going on here. If you are traveling in this morning, you are just seeing some wet roads pretty much across the board. I-40 eastbound. We got a live drive here. Not sure what part of town, but speaking of windshield wipers, those are being put to the test. Got them on the high speed there. But I want to focus on this crash here. If we can make that image larger of the traffic flow map and what's going on here at I-40 eastbound. This is near Charlotte Pike. Let's take you out there and show you what crews are dealing with, making it difficult right now, that rain, to get this accident cleared up. We know this is a single car crash. Good news, it is off of the main roadway, pushed off to the shoulder, but please use caution. If you see an incident like this, move over as much as you can to give these crews some room, especially with these wet conditions going on there. Now, as the morning goes on, we're seeing more incidents like this, more jam ups. No crash in sight here along I-40 westbound, but certainly slower traffic if you're traveling in from Hermitage. Really, everyone needs to leave a lot earlier. I-40 westbound at the I-65 split near Demonbreun in downtown Nashville also have a crash there. We're seeing more crashes really just pop up all across the board on our maps because of all the rain that is hitting during the morning rush. Never a great time for storms to hit, but of course morning rush makes it a lot more difficult to get out the door and get where you need to be on time and safely. Brightly Parkway over here, this is a crash as you are in the Two Rivers Parkway area that I'm following there, slowing there. Notice the slowing there. Also along Highway 70, that's Lebanon Pike. So everyone is feeling the delays this morning, Stefano.
And the delays will continue too. I mean, if you're out in the Cumberland Plateau, the rain has not worked its way in yet, but it eventually will. We're with you right now here because the rain is still very intense in downtown Nashville. But the reason that we're kind of staying with you is because of how much this is impacting the morning commute. As Alexandria just showed you, those drive times are a little bit of a nightmare at this point, and it's all because of this round of heavier rain that's been working its way through. First Alert Live radar is showing that line racing through Davidson County, but for those of us in the Cumberland Plateau from McMinnville, Manchester, Tullahoma, Fayetteville, Cookeville, Crossville, and Jamestown, we will get this heavier rainfall. As it works its way to the east, the line should continue to weaken, but could still pack those heavier downpours and those gusty winds. With First Alert Live radar, the line is starting to break up in southern Middle Tennessee, so that's not really much of a concerning area for me anymore. We're really just concerned for those counties that are now east of Davidson County, getting into Williamson, Rutherford, maybe even Sumner County, Trousdale, Smith, Jackson, Putnam County, DeKalb, Warren, Coffee County on top of that. Main part of this storm is just sitting over downtown Nashville. Once it gets out of there, we'll be in the clear for the rest of the day. So once the storms are done in your area, that will be it as far as any kind of strong or severe thunderstorm is concerned. But the temperature on the back side of it is going to drastically drop. So if you are waking up this morning, you can see we're actually still at 70 in downtown Nashville, at least as of right now. It's the latest temperature reading. You go back a little ways to Clarksville, we've dropped into the 50s. Even in Dixon, we're down near 60 right now. That colder air is where that cold front is really pushing through, and that is where the big temperature drop will come from. So if you're stepping out the door in areas in the Cumberland Plateau where it's feeling very summer-like, make sure you have clothes that are ready for it to cool down quite a bit as we head through the remainder of the day today and into tonight as that colder air really starts to settle back in. So the rain going to work its way back through, and then once that does so, the wind will stay gusty, the rain will start to fall apart. Right now, still with you here for at least the next couple of minutes as this rain continues to work its way through downtown Nashville. Again, I know that it's kind of blowing out maybe some of the plans you had for the Today Show, regular programming, but with this just being right around the morning commute, we just want to make sure if you're waking up and you're trying to get out the door, for those that maybe weren't up earlier with us this morning, you can get the latest information that you do need. Things are clearing up on our tower camera, so the forecast is improving. We're starting to get this line of thunderstorms to move through Davidson County. I'd say in Nashville within the next 5 minutes or so will be clear of at least the heaviest of this rainfall if it's not doing so already. But in Murfreesboro, we are dry right now. It's not going to stay that way. Same thing in Smyrna. I'd say maybe around the Hermitage area right now. We're starting to hear that rain pick up near the BNA airport. Lebanon looking pretty good until that heavier rainfall works its way in. So if you're still trying to travel in from the west or the east side of the city and you're going west on 40 or up on 24 into Nashville and Davidson County, we still have a lot to contest with. Eventually it'll head toward the Lebanon area and getting into Cookeville, Putnam County, also another busy area for the mornings that we'll watch closely. Gainsboro going to get that heavier rainfall. We've had a little bit of that small hail in some of this, but it hasn't been a major concern over the last couple of hours. Downtown Franklin, heads up, we've got that heavier rainfall coming. Some pretty good lightning strikes, probably some pretty loud thunder actually this morning in some spots. Leapers Fork, there's Thompson Station as well. Cool Springs, Crockett Park near Nolensville. That's actually where our radar site is on First Alert Live radar. So as those storms get a little bit closer, that camera should start to show some of that heavier rain. We start to work our way to the east. There's not a whole lot of instability, maybe out near the Smyrna, College Grove areas. So the main story has been this line kind of weakening as it works its way from west to east. The heavier rainfall will eventually dwindle away, but the wind, remember, that is something that will stay gusty even through this afternoon. That's why the wind advisory continues across the mid-state until noon today, because we continue to see those wind gusts upwards and near 40 miles per hour. But the focus is still going to be on the storm threat as we go through the next, let's say, 2 to 3 hours. I think most of this is going to be gone by the time we get to about 10, 11 o'clock this morning, and then we'll just have some leftover showers kind of beyond all of that. Storm threats, heavier rainfall, the gusty wind. Alexandria has been tracking problems on the roadways this morning, and the reason we did this, Alexandria, is because you've watched this, the road over the last half an hour, and I mean, we've really watched the drive times pick up to almost an hour in some spots.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think almost everybody, no matter really where you're traveling to this morning, is going to be about an hour commute. I want to talk to you about one of our newer crashes here over near Opry Mills. This is Briley Parkway traveling northbound the Donaldson area. This is impacting Two Rivers Parkway, that area over there, and Lebanon Pike, smack dab in the middle of that along Briley northbound. You can see, camera a little out of focus, but the rain, the slick roads, almost halting traffic moving along. It looks like to be just one lane. It is pushed off to that right shoulder there. I want to also talk about what we have going on here on the west side. Been following this one now for about the last 30 minutes. I-40 eastbound traveling in from Bellevue, west side, Dixon also impacting you. Notice the steady jam up there if you're traveling in from the west side trying to get into Nashville right now, those eastbound lanes. That was impacting you near Charlotte Pike. I'll show you also what's going on here coming in at I-40. This is impacting you at OHB, the wet roads. No traffic jam, or rather no crash in that traffic area, but just slower traffic moving along. I-24 westbound at Bell Road, also reported crash there, and miles of backup in that area if you're traveling in, and you can see why. Wet conditions across the board, also slower drive times. Everybody in the red at this one. Franklin 48 minutes, Murfreesboro 67, Bellevue 31, and Gallatin 65 minutes. It is a slower morning if you're heading out, Stefano.
Definitely a slow morning, definitely dealing with the heavier rainfall, and I think the big story is the gusty wind that we're actually seeing down in parts of Williamson County near the Franklin area. You kind of see how this part of the storm has a little bit of a bow shape to it, so that would indicate the gusty winds that are coming our way, but we have seen this work its way out of downtown Nashville, so this will continue to push its way into the Cumberland Plateau with heavier rainfall and the potential for some gusty winds. Looks like any severe thunderstorm threat has kind of fallen apart. So here's what we're going to do. We are still going to stick with you and do some cut-ins every 15, 20, 30 minutes or so to give you updates on where these storm tracks are, but for right now we're going to discontinue the sort of wall-to-wall continuous coverage now that the worst of it has worked its way out of downtown Nashville. We'll still be here with you, giving the latest updates. You can always download the WSMV4 weather app as well and use the interactive and First Alert Live radar for the latest as well.
Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today.
Every day.
We are adding to the star power in our studio.
You guys are pretty good today.
Can we go to commercial break now?
Everything and everyone you're talking about. Only on Today.
My wife was allowed to bleed internally for 10 hours.
Why an alarming number of black women are dying during childbirth, and a fight for a solution. Plus, the fine print in your health insurance that could cost you. Investigate TV Plus on WSMV4.
Popeye's new chicken wings make no sense. Marinated in Louisiana spices, hand-battered and flipped, and then we have the audacity to call all 5 flavors fast food? Someone should really say something, or order something.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
The Rooms to Go anniversary sale starts Thursday, and this sale means more. More style, more selection, more ways to save all month long. Thanks to our big buying power, our suppliers gave us special price breaks, which means more savings for you with bonus buys everywhere you look. Shop living rooms, bedrooms, and dining rooms on sale with 60-month interest-free financing. That's right, 60 months. Circle the date. The Rooms to Go anniversary sale starts Thursday.
Breaking news, Nashville. This just in. Do you want new floors, but you don't want to move your furniture? No problem. 50 Floors highly skilled installers will do all the heavy lifting, moving your furniture and putting it back in place when they're done installing your beautiful new floors. Plus, they offer flexible financing plans and free installation. If you thought you couldn't afford new floors, think again. Go to 50floor.com today. 50 Floor, the ultimate flooring experience.
Join Tracy Cornett weeknights on WSMV4. When a rookie stunt driver meets the trainer who thought he'd seen it all.
Again.
There's bound to be action. But this is no ordinary blockbuster. It's a Nissan sales event ad, so you better act fast. Don't miss out on impressive President's Day savings.
Let's roll.